Start recording the meeting.
Recording in progress.
And I'd like to welcome everybody to the January edition of Tips and Tricks SIG. We're going to have our open forum, and then we'll not have a break. And we'll go into our topics that I had sent out earlier a few days ago. That being said, I'm going to circle back to a conversation we had started prior to recording with Dennis. Dennis is run up against a little difficulty with his chief executive officer of home economics and finances and everything else that rules the men's life that are married. And she's particularly does not want him to upgrade his or her laptop that is running Windows 8.1 to Windows 10. She doesn't want him to do it. He knows that the support for Windows 8.1 is gone, and he's expressed it to her, and now he's trying to convince her of why she needs to do it, as well as the safety of the fact he's going to do this and she's going to have a fallback in case something goes wrong. Dennis was talking about using Macrium Reflect, getting the free version to do it, and yet he went to the website and was not able to find it. I will add, Dennis, you could go ahead and download that it's a 30-day free trial, right?
Right.
You will know within a week, actually within a few days of upgrading from Windows 8.1 to Windows 10, whether or not she will have a problem with her Office 365 product. You'll know that immediately because she's going to go to use it and it won't work, or some aspect won't work. And I would say you could not even bother worrying about trying to get the free version. I would just get the one you have, the 30-day trial, just to put it on there to do the backup. And if there was a problem, you have that full product that you could do a restore with. That's just my opinion. After 30 days, you can blow it out because you're not going to use it on her laptop.
And one of the keys is when you put Macrium Reflect or some other backup programs on a system, you have to create a rescue media. For that, you need a flash drive that's 1 or 2 gigabytes in size that you dedicate to it. You bring up Macrium Reflect, and up at the very top towards the left side, you'll see a menu item called Other. Click it. The very first item is Create the Rescue Media. When it's done creating it, you then have to test it, because what that means is you restart the computer with the flash drive in and see if it will boot up and bring up Macrium Reflect, which is to put it in rescue mode so you can restore a backup on your backup drive. The backup drive should be a 2.5-inch laptop external drive with 500 gigabytes or a terabyte capacity at least. And that'll because you want to keep at least 3 consecutive backups on any computer system, and that's minimum.
All right, so Dennis, did you understand what I was trying to get at? You look perplexed.
No, I think I missed something.
Okay, so what I was getting at is that you'll know if you load the full version of Macrium Reflect on her laptop.
Right.
Then you perform a backup, then you do the upgrade. You'll know within a week of her, I'm assuming she's going to use that laptop every day or once a week or whatever she's doing for the church. You'll know soon after she goes to use it whether or not there was a problem.
Right.
And you'll know within this first month for sure, absolutely, whether or not you're going to need to do a restore on her system to bring it back to original. That's why I'm saying you could get away with the 30-day trial, because after 30 days, if you don't want Macrium on there, or she doesn't want it on there, you could take it off and you didn't spend any money and go through much effort to do this.
And also, a lot of times, and I don't know about Macrium Reflect, when you get a trial version, when the trial period expires, it turns into a limited free version, and all I've been using for years is the free version.
So I'm thinking that's why maybe so they don't restrict me, I would download it off this Softpedia, which I brought up that website here in another window, another tab. I do see a Macrium Reflect free edition 8.0.
Right.
Build 7175.
Right.
Created
It works
November
perfect.
27, 2022.
When was it created?
November 27th, 2022.
Right.
There have been more recent updates.
No.
Yeah.
However, that may be the latest you can get.
Well, and or worst comes to worst, you download it, you install it, and when you bring it up, it says, "Oh, I got a newer version. Here's what it is," and you get a download button. You press that, and it'll take over downloading it and installing the new version, and bring it back up.
If they're still supporting the free version in that way,
Correct.
they should be throughout 2023.
But in
But I
either
won't guarantee it.
in either case, I've done several backups with that version, and I don't have a lick of problems.
Okay, have you done a restore from any
Yes.
one of those versions?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so as long as you know it works, I guess that's what I was kind of getting at about getting the 30-day trial is, you know it's going to work. You're going to get support for the first 30 days. And if you need to be helped with that, it's all available.
So during the meeting here, I'm going to try to download this one and
Without your wife's permission? Are you suicidal?
What was the website you were going to get that at?
Softpedia.com.
Softpedia.com.
Soft Media?
Softpedia.
Pedia. You want to put, Tim, you want to put the link in the,
All right.
in the chat?
All right.
Put the link right to Macrium on their website out there.
I think I got it here.
Okay, let's move on to another question. While we're so Dennis, you're going to do this while we're talking, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try it. Yeah.
Okay, and you're going to go find yourself a USB stick.
Yeah, I've got some USBs, and I only need 1 or 2
Gigabytes.
Well, you'll need one for sure. That's going to be your rescue media. Then you need somewhere you're going to put the backup to, whether it be a USB or a hard drive or something.
Well, just to clarify, when I download this, it's all going to go on the computer hard drive.
Correct.
No.
I only need the flash drive later on when I launch it to create the rescue media.
No. It's you do the rescue media almost right away, so that you have the ability at any point in time to recover your system from a backup you've made.
Okay.
Now
you're going to install the software, and during the installation, it will ask to create this rescue media.
Okay.
It won't, but you can do it first thing.
right.
Okay, there you go. Bob's a little more familiar with that.
And other things can be on the flash drive already.
It will wipe out everything that's on that flash drive and create a new rescue environment called WinRE.
And it's going to be a bootable flash drive too, won't it?
It will be bootable.
It'll be bootable.
However, within WinRE, you can use File Explorer and create folders and put other stuff in after creating the rescue media.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I say. In fact, I've got a rescue media that's 512 megabyte flash drive, and I have 100 megabytes free storage on it still.
Well, that's a small old drive.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only a small
and then
drive,
Dennis,
but a small image.
Dennis, you're going to need a drive to actually put the backup onto.
Right.
And is that what Tim was talking about? How big does that drive have to be?
Well, how big's your hard drive in your
500
laptop?
gigabytes to a terabyte for that one machine is more than ample.
How big's the hard drive on your laptop?
This laptop has a 440 gigabyte.
440. Okay, and how much of it is used?
I wrote down that a year ago.
Well, just go to Explorer. It should tell you. Go to My Computer. Oh, there is no My Computer.
Last year, 392 gigabytes was free. So in other words, she was using less than 50 gigabytes.
So,
all right. So like Tim said, at least a 500 gig drive will work just fine for this.
that's right. But you're not going to find them. You'll probably have to get a terabyte, and it would cost you about 50, 60 bucks.
Yeah, I actually these days I'm only finding 2 terabytes is about the smallest, and it's less than 70.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
External hard drives.
Yep.
Yeah, external hard drives. Now I use more than one external hard drive so that if anything goes wrong with one of them, I've still got a good copy.
This is a generic housing holding an old terabyte spinning hard drive in it. USB cable, you plug into a USB port, whether it's USB 2 or USB 3, doesn't matter that much. It'll be slower with USB 2, which since that's a Windows 8 machine, it's probably USB 2 ports. And you just do a backup, and there's one little setting that I can tell you about to automatically verify the backup as being good. And every time I've done the automatic verification, I have never had one fail when I needed to restore it, period.
Same here.
But I only need the external hard drive when I'm going to launch this thing. The only thing I need right away is the flash drive for this.
No. You need someplace to put the backup image.
Right. You can't
Something
back it up
has to
to itself.
Something has to receive the image.
Yeah,
and you can't
the
have that be
external
part of
hard
your computer.
Yeah.
What do you mean the Macrium reflect image?
No.
Yeah, the backup, the image that backs up your Windows.
Let's put it this way. Let's say that you run the backup. You store the backup image on your internal hard drive on that computer, and 30 seconds later, it dies. What happened to your backup?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. What I was trying to ask was the timing. So the only thing I need to download the Macrium Reflect right now would be the flash drive to create rescue media.
Right.
Actually, all you're downloading is the installer for Macrium Reflect.
Right.
Once you run the installer, you run the program from within Windows.
But I don't have to run that today or tomorrow. I can wait a week.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Well, once I do an upgrade, I would do it as soon as possible because you never know.
Oh, no. What I'm saying is if I need to go out and buy the external hard drive, I don't have to do it like within the next hour.
No.
Right now is a flash drive, download the Macrium Reflect software onto the laptop. And then when I'm ready to launch it, that's when I connect my external hard drive and it creates all the stuff.
Right. And you can create the flash drive for the rescue media without actually having your backup drive ready yet.
That's correct.
You can probably get one of those hard drives, portable hard drives on Amazon.
Amazon, you can go to Micro Center, you can go to eBay, you can go almost anywhere on the friggin' planet that sells computer stuff. You can go to a Walmart probably and pick up one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I picked up some pretty decent ones at Target.
Yeah.
But in any event, those aren't going to be delivered within the next hour unless you're a super prime member.
Yeah, you'd have to pay a fortune for that.
Yeah, right now I just need to look for a flash drive.
Now, here's the other thing. Besides looking for other to create the recovery flash drive, go down to the second item after you've done that and it will give you settings, and one of those settings says auto verify image, and you click on that, put a check mark in the box, and anytime you run a backup on that system, it will back it up and automatically verify the image is good. And when it says everything's golden, you forget about it until you need it.
On the external hard drive, can anything be on that, or will it wipe that out as well?
No, it
No.
doesn't wipe out the hard drive. It just makes sure there's enough space.
Yeah, it's a case where if you had multiple computers, you create a folder per computer, and you always make sure you're using the right folder as the destination for
Okay.
your backup image. And then you want to keep a total of at least a minimum of 3 consecutive backups, like once a month. You'd back it up. The next month, you back it up. You now have 2 backups. The following month, you back it up again. Now you got 3. After that, you can either delete the oldest one, or if you got plenty of room, you can keep on going. If you want to, you can use some of the space for making copies, a copy image from the computer onto the drive of document folders with the documents contained within them as additional backup.
Yes, I do data backups because they happen more frequently.
Right.
Yeah.
Data backups, you have to do more than once a month, and it depends upon usage. You might do it once a day, once every other day, every 3 days, once a week, once every 2 weeks. But you
It's
I
whatever your discipline, it's whatever discipline you set up to do.
That's right. 100%.
And also, if I make a major change or have a brand new document, I will immediately back that up.
Right. So your Dennis, your process will be make a backup before you do the Win 10 upgrade. Do the
Absolutely.
Win 10 upgrade, do another backup.
Right. 100% correct. You want to have
then-
both backups.
Then
And
let the
before I
thing, if I may, then let the system do a shakedown. It's going to, after you did the first backup, you did the first backup, you upgrade to Win 10, you do another backup, then let the system start downloading more updates and changes if it needs to do it. And maybe in a few more days, you do another backup. Okay. So you got those, and that's the difference between 10 and whatever it's doing after you did the upgrade. All right.
Once I create the rescue media on the flash drive, I would have to make sure that the computer is set up so that it will boot from a flash drive.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make
but
sure-
that's a what if scenario that you're going to want to test at some point, but it's not necessary to just go and make sure it works right away.
Actually, that's exactly what I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
see,
I
that-
make sure that I know how to boot
I-
into USB and that the rescue media will boot.
I do the
Because you
same
never
thing.
know when the first failure will happen.
That's right. And besides that, it's a case where there's 2 possibilities. All computers have, and you have to look it up online, a designated boot F key. When you're booting the computer up, you're tapping that boot F key so that it brings up a boot menu so you can select that flash drive that's plugged in. Some computers, you can tap the escape key and get similar boot menu to select that flash drive to boot up from. Other than that, you have to get into the BIOS to change the boot sequence devices and have the USB first and your hard drive internal to the computer last.
Yeah, boot priority.
Yeah.
And the reason for having USB be your first priority is if your internal hard drive won't boot, you're definitely going to want to be able to fire up the computer with the flash drive in there.
Right.
And if it's capable of doing any booting, that's what it will boot to.
Right. These are not. It sounds terrible, okay, in the general talk, but really they're not that bad as long as everything goes smoothly. But you never know when something's going to go bad. That's why you want to have that backup before you do anything, and then if something really goes bad, you restore that backup and you're right back where you were before you started trying to do the update.
How do I do a quick test to see if it will boot?
It's
But what's that? I find where in the BIOS where it said, you're saying I could do it temporarily, change it, but you can also change it in the BIOS.
right.
How do I know it works? What can I put into the USB drive to see, okay, well, is it really trying to boot from there first?
You would put your Macrium Reflect Rescue Media in there.
Have you ever made a Linux bootable disk flash drive?
No.
That would have been another option of something that would be bootable.
Okay.
Okay, I think we need to move
Yeah,
on.
I agree.
This, any more coaching, Dennis, you're gonna need, you could talk to Tim or to Bob as a
Sure.
sidebar. Pete?
One second, while we're on Macrium, can I have it automatically? So I've got my hard drives partitioned. So I don't just have a C, I've got a D or an F, G, whatever, for various things like my data and my media. Can I set it up on the backup to back up those
Backup
automatically?
Macrium Reflect and several others, when you're making a system image, it's anything in the way of a partition and data that's in that hard drive. If you got 30 partitions, it backs up all 30 partitions all at once.
Now, there is one caveat. If you're talking, Pete, about scheduling so that it happens at a certain time, that is a paid premium feature.
That's correct too.
Okay.
However, the paid premium version, I feel, is well worth it. It was even more worth it on Black Friday.
So, okay, so I've got a terabyte hard drive here.
Right.
I've got 500 or a half a terabyte is my primary partition.
Okay.
And then I've got two other partitions each with a quarter terabyte
Okay.
in it. So when I fire up Macrium, it's going to do the whole terabyte?
It'll do the entire drive.
Macrium actually maps out your entire system, all its drives, all its partitions. And you can check off which ones you want to back up. Or you can check off a check mark that says only what's necessary to boot Windows.
Right.
There's a lot of options.
Yes. It backs up the entire disk drive that it finds out there. Okay. And it compresses it some. It's only a medium compression. So the image will be smaller than the amount of actual occupied space on that drive right now that's inside the computer. So for you, the way it's sounding, you need at least a 2 terabyte backup external hard drive to back up to, so you can have at least 3 images.
Okay.
Yeah, and you might want to go larger.
Right.
It isn't all that expensive with hard drives these days.
Yeah, I mean, even a 4 terabyte external drive is like about 110, 120.
100 to 110, yes.
Okay, I've got one other question. Are you hearing the string trimmer guy in the audio stream?
No. Should we?
Okay. No, I'm checking to make sure that if I have to mute or not.
Oh,
We're good.
Oh, you're okay.
Yell if it comes in closer. You need me to.
Zoom does a pretty good job of filtering out room noise and echo.
Yeah.
Okay, next question, new direction. Well, I'm glad we had those to start with, Dennis.
Yeah, it was a good discussion, and this is the kind of stuff that comes up periodically in all groups because everybody runs into disasters, and it's the ones that don't have any backup that are SOL. Those that have backup that don't have it verified may find out the backup they've got and they're relying upon is useless.
One more question.
Oh, okay, Pete.
Multiple computers. Can I use the same Macrium start disk if they're all on the same operating system?
If it's paid, no, it's per PC licensing. But if it's free, go ahead.
Yeah, on the free version, you can use it on any number of systems you want to on the recovery media. But
However, Macrium Reflect, and this is why they eliminated the free version, wants you to have a license for the free version on each computer you're going to use Macrium Reflect on, even if you're using it from the external media.
right.
And it's a free license, so who cares?
Yeah, and the only other aspect of it is I'm sure over the next year, just to be safe, I'll be one person at least that'll be looking for and experimenting with other backup products in case we have to replace Macrium Reflect with something else.
Yeah, and I would recommend Easiest to Do because they're the only one that has not indicated they will probably go over to a subscription model this year.
And I used that many years ago for a while, and it seemed to work pretty good. I just like Macrium Reflect better, but that is likely the alternative.
What did you recommend as the other one?
I'll put it in chat. It's Easiest to Do. Let
Yeah.
me spell it out for everybody.
Easiest to do backup is all it's called. And there's a free version and a paid version of that one also.
There it is.
And you can get that off of Softpedia, Major Geeks, and quite a few other reputable sites.
Or from Easiest's own site. They still
Yeah.
offer it.
Okay.
Okay. Are we good?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, are we good?
Yep.
I think we got that horse beat.
Okay.
Oh, if we haven't got it beat, we'll keep slugging away at it.
Yeah, sooner or later we might want to have a mini topic, which will be a demo at a future meeting.
All right, next question, new direction. Yes, Bill.
Well, I got something relative to that, but not quite the same.
Okay.
I was doing stuff on my PC tonight and installing Patch My PC and a couple other things. And I don't know what I did, but all of a sudden, half of my icons on my desktop disappeared. And I rebooted the machine and it came back the same way. So it didn't change it. And I looked in the recycle bin and there was nothing in there. So I did a restore. I had a restore point from a couple days ago that worked okay. But I don't have any idea what I did unless I drug the mouse at a time that I was trying to delete something. I don't even know where I was at the time.
One possibility. There are some utilities that look for invalid desktop shortcuts, and it will remove them. So if you can remember even one or two of the programs that disappeared after whatever happened, and go click on them now, you'll find out whether the program icon works or it doesn't work, and says, do you want me to delete this invalid icon?
Well, I did, like I say, I was able to get most of it back. I use fences, but, and it brought the fences back, but it didn't put the icons into the fences. It just threw them on the desktop.
Well,
Oh,
So I had to throw them back in.
there's your problem there, Bill. The problem was fences. Your icons got disassociated with the fences that were created to them. So, and I've seen this where sometimes in fences, the icon could still be there. You just can't see it because it's either too far to the left or too far to the right or down. You click in the fence and the fence is still there. Okay, but I'm thinking I believe it has to do with fences.
Could
is your
be.
problem.
Could be.
Because
if Fences is like any of these other organizing programs, it will have a file called a .ini file, which tells exactly what the setup is and where everything goes. And it may have other files that do that. It's very easy for a program to lose touch with those ini files, and then they have to be recreated.
right. Sometimes you have to recreate the fence for the icons. What you may notice, now I know this is too late because you already did the restore and the other steps that you've done, but what I've seen with fences is sometimes when I'm booting up the system, the icons will show up, fences will come up, and the icons are gone, but the icons were there initially. So they were behind the fences and they needed to be brought forward so you could see them. It creates like layers on your desktop is what's going on. And it's possible what you could have also tried to do is fences is supposed to do screen snapshots, and you could have done a restore a screen and it would have brought back the icons. You could still do that now by going back to fences configuration and pull up a saved restore of the screenshots, and you could tell it to restore this, and it should bring back all those missing icons.
Interesting. I think we need to have a little bit of further talk down the road on fences because
could be, and I've used fences, and they've changed it over the years with Windows 10.
Sure.
But I was using it in Windows 7 at work. I loved it when it was free, and then it went to a paid format like everybody else. But I still use it. I paid for it this time because I just found it invaluable, the way it organizes your desktop. I really like it.
I do too.
And for $10, it was definitely well worth it to obtain the product. But I think that might be your problem there. In terms of it's kind of like restore points, but they make a screenshot. And it used to be real easy to do it. You could tell it, go take a screenshot, and it would save it. Now it does it in the background, and it's a little more complex to find it. And I'll have to look and see where it is on my fences that I have now. But let us continue.
In 25 words or less, Sanford, what does fences do?
It's a desktop organizer. Like, for example, if I showed my desktop on this system, I might have 20 to 30 icons, and they're in columns on the left side. Well, some people take various icons representing certain programs, and they put them in groups all over the screen, and they use fences to keep them organized and in that specific location. And that way, they can always find what they're looking for very fast by knowing what fence area has the program that I want to launch, see the icon, double click on it, and launch that application, and they're in business, versus having to look through the columns of stuff and find the one that they're looking for.
how would that differ from just creating, let's say, a folder on your desktop and putting the things you want to keep separate in that one folder?
To
The
some extent,
contents of those folders are not at all times visible to you.
right.
Right.
And Windows Desktop treats the folder very different from the icons, and it takes up more space that you don't realize. It's
Or
weird.
disk space.
In Fences, you always see the individual items. They're not like lumped
Right.
into the thing. Okay.
Right. And that means you don't have to open folders all the time. You just go to an area of the screen.
Yeah.
If you had multiple monitors, you could have multiple desktops and do the same thing.
Yeah. You can spread your entire desktop across 2 or 3 monitors if you want to. Most people, instead of extending their desktop, they use each one as a separate desktop and move things from one screen to the other by dragging and dropping.
And then there's still the problem. If you don't have multiple monitors, you will not at all times be able to see all your desktops. We're going to have a little thing on Fences.
Oh, we're going to do Fences tonight, huh?
Well, you brought it up, you wanted to see it, and I'm trying to see if I
Yeah.
could find a way to illustrate it. I mean, let me ask, does anyone know how I can get the Zoom to show my desktop?
Share your entire desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Usually it's the
okay.
first, when you hit share, it's usually the first upper left image.
Well, it's the
that you
screen.
see. Yeah, screen. That's your
this?
desktop. And you can
Okay.
show anything from the desktop.
So are you guys seeing my desktop now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Fences. So if you look, I have a group here called Programs,
Mm-hmm.
and I have the bunch of programs listed in there. I have one to the right I call Folders. I've organized all my folders in there. I have another one that I call Files and Documents. Now these things, if you notice, I don't know if you guys can see, but I can move these up and down.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
I can resize these, make them bigger or smaller. I can change the opacity of this window if you want. Right now I have it as a light blue with that you could see through, but you can have it completely opaque. You could have all kinds of, you could change the feel of this, if you will.
Now, as to the problem that occurred with Fences, where the icons disappear, does that mean that sometimes all you see is just the blue background and the
Yeah.
icons aren't showing?
That's all I saw.
That's all you saw. So it's possible the icons got displaced from that. And you go to configure Fences. I don't know. Hopefully you're seeing this screen too.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has layout
Yeah.
features and snapshots.
Okay, layout and snapping. This is, and down here, layout and layout snapshots. Automatically take daily
Yes.
snapshots. Your most recent 3 days will be kept. This is where you could have resorted back to a snapshot and just restored it. And see, I click on this, it'll say restore snapshot, and all my icons from that snapshot will be restored. Now,
I
if
didn't
the
know that was
program
there.
behind it got deleted, that it can't help, but it will restore all the icons.
I want to mention too, because Bill brought it up. He was using Patch My PC. One thing you have to do is when it's done, scroll up and look through each one of the things that updated. Make sure it says successfully updated. Sometimes you get some that have a code number. If you have a code number, it did not install that program. And you'll have to figure out what caused it not to install the program and then correct that problem. And then you'll be able to update that program again.
And that's where you have Tim on speed dial.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a problem now because I I tried to, because I went back to restore point, I didn't have Patch My PC installed now.
Yeah.
So I went back to try to reinstall it by going to the web again to download the file, and it wouldn't let me do it. So I haven't had a chance to figure that one out yet either.
Generally, it'll let you download all you want to in it, and it puts it in your download folder or
Yeah, it's
whatever
not
you
working
just.
that way.
And I usually leave
It's giving me an error message.
Really?
Yep.
You may have additional problems on that computer that's causing all your issues. That's what it sounds like to me.
Oh, it could be because he did a restore instead of an uninstall.
Not necessarily. It's not so much the restore. It's when he was running the patch PC, the weird things. Then he tried to re-download a new version of the patch my PC, which should have gone in A-OK, and he can't do it now. That tells me maybe like corruption or other issues with the operating system going on. It's hard to say at this point. There are various tools you can use built right into Windows. The most common one I'll put in the chat. It checks out only the boot files. You have to run it from an administrative command prompt. All this does is check out the Windows files that are critical to booting up your computer. No other corruption. You have to use check disk in order to do it. Check all the other files. Now, I'll tell you right now, Sanford, back up all the way to the URL line. Click the URL line where Patch My PC is twice. One more time. After, okay. Now put a /home. And now hit enter. And there's download Patch My PC 4.5.0.1.
Does someone want to discuss what Patch My PC does?
It is a free resource of mostly free software, and it will take and execute a search of what you have installed on your system that it has in its repository. Anything it finds that needs a new version, it will list out in red. Everything that's up to date is in green, and it'll tell you how many you got. You can also manually select anything that's in that list. But every now and then there may be items that you have to pay for to actually execute. But I found very few of those so far. Most of them are all free. I use this thing for months on end on multiple computers.
Is this strictly a Windows?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But I think it would even work on Windows 8 that you've got right now, but it's designed for 10 or 11.
Don't go messing with your wife's machine.
Go ahead. Go ahead and wipe it out.
Don't go messing with it. Just put Windows 10 on there. Make a backup. Put Windows 10 on there, and then leave it alone.
Oh, I want to see the nuclear explosion.
If after today you guys never see me at another meeting again, check the obituaries.
You did.
Okay. We got this Patch My PC here. And
it's an excellent program. Even APCUG, our umbrella organization, is recommending it. Judy Toulour. That's where I picked it up from. I think I heard her bring that up September or October, and I've been using it ever since then. In fact, I got it on this machine. I could run if I share the desktop, I could show you it running.
Yeah, but if it tries to install something, it might kick you out of the meeting.
No, no, it wouldn't, because it doesn't update Zoom. Zoom is not one of the programs.
Because Zoom did have an update today.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is Zoom is not one of them. Macrium Reflect is not
Okay.
one of them, and
Right.
there's a couple others that I have that are not updated by Patch My PC. So it's not everything on your system. It's all the free stuff that gets updated. The other stuff is up to you how you get them.
Yeah, if I want a list of what has updates available, I use another free product from KC Softwares called Sumo, SUMO.
Yes, and
And that'll tell me what's out of date, and then I can figure out whether or not it's important.
right. That one is more manual, whereas Patch My PC, when you push the one button, it's all automatic. It tries to download and install every program that's in red. But
Yeah, which one you use pretty much depends on whether you've got the most common programs on your computer, which most people have, or whether you've got something less common like I have.
right, and that's a very true statement. Also, in Patch My PC, I have had a few instances like 1 to 3 files that are in red, but they didn't update. And the reason probably is they don't have the software yet on their system to push down and update your system, but they know it's out of date.
And then you just do the same thing you would with Sumo. You just go to the vendor website and see if you can download a current copy.
Or get it from another site like Softpedia, Major Geeks, or some of the other ones.
Yeah, lots of options.
It's the paid software or a software like Macrium Reflect. When you run it, if there's an update, it'll tell you about it. You can download it immediately, install it automatically, and then use the new version. In other programs, they'll do a pop-up saying there's one available. It may give you the ability to download it directly, or it'll bring up a browser tab and you can download it from the browser tab, et cetera, et cetera. So there's myriads of options for keeping your software up to date.
Okay. We've covered that one. Any last questions? Otherwise, we'll go into our topics for the evening. None. All right. Let's go into our topics for the evening. I've sent them out to the group, or I sent them out in the last email.
How about item 7?
Well, first thing I wanted to go item 1. Does anyone know about the fact that Handbrake was updated to version 1.6?
Yeah.
Are there any Handbrake users here in the group? Okay, 2. So those of us that
Don't know
use
what it is.
well, if you don't know what it is, Handbrake is a converting software for video files, and it will convert it from one format to another format. You could take it from an AVI and make it to an MPEG. You could make it you could scale it down for a portable device so it can be more transportable. So you could take a 4 gigabyte file and make it down to 300 megs that you could put on your phone to watch a movie.
And one other use is if you edit, if you take and make a video of, say, this meeting, and you want to cut out something or modify the video in some way, that automatically uncompresses the video you made. So you use Handbrake to recompress it so that it's a smaller size.
So it's a video converter and condenser.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right. It's a real, and it's free.
Yeah.
It's an open source free product, and doesn't go through a lot of changes.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
It's very
So
slow.
it's been stuck at 1.47 for probably a year plus.
Actually, it's 1.5.
Oh, it's 1.5. I'm sorry.
1.53 was the last that I got.
Okay. So it was stuck at that for how long?
Oh, 2 years?
2 years, yeah. So that's why I brought it up, because they don't go through a lot of, this software does not change very much. And I think this comes out of, the consortium comes out of France.
Yes,
So if you look,
it is.
if you look on the URL that I have in there, it's got a .fr. So
Yes. Same thing's true of
but
VLC.
I'm just pointing this out so people know. What I will say is when you go and install this update, it does require a new component to be installed in Windows. And I'll see if I can find what it is.
Yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember what it was.
Windows, it's called Windows Desktop Runtime.
Yeah, and I don't remember what it was.
I got it because I had to download it, but I don't know what it is. So I think it's like a .NET.
It could be.
I think it's a .NET type application.
There is a fairly recent version of .NET that came out. I think it's called .NET version 7.
3.7?
No, this is 7.7.
Oh, 7 something. Okay.
And I don't remember if it's released out of beta or not. I haven't been able to track it, but I do know that there is a very new version of .NET coming out, and it could be something that's in that one, or your .NET is out of date. One of the two. They've been doing quite a few changes to .NET. Number 7 is what exactly is a rescue/recovery/repair/emergency disk? I think that's an appropriate topic.
Oh, we kind of covered some of this. Where are we looking at here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Rescue, recovery, repair. Okay, let's see what that is.
By the way, we talked about the recovery disk at the last meeting I did because I couldn't get it to work.
Yes.
And Bob was correct. My BIOS didn't look at the USB first.
Correct.
So I found the key. They're both working now.
Yeah, that's one of the strange things. Standard setup is always the local hard disk in the machine, and you have to use either the boot menu key or you've got to change the priority sequence in the BIOS.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd done it before, but I didn't remember that I didn't do it to these computers.
Yeah.
So back to our topic here. What's the difference between recovery, rescue, repair, emergency? Well, we emergency dial 911. If there's an emergency, dial 911. Don't call your doctor's office. You should be calling, right? I hate those stupid recordings. It's like, yeah, don't you think I know that?
I've created a Windows recovery drive on a flash drive. It's something akin to the Macrium Reflect Rescue Media flash drive. But this is saying there's a lot of confusion by a lot of people, it sounds like. All these different names, they think they all mean the same thing, and they may not.
Right. So apparently, yeah, there is confusion in the industry in the way that they use the terms. And so this is starting out with the basics of what's a disk to get some ground rules established. So they're giving you the vernacular and giving you the definitions. The words give you the definitions, and then we're going to take it and build up from there. So a disk we know to be either a spinning hard drive or an SSD. It could be a CD, a DVD. But a USB is not a disk. It is it is a different device, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Right.
we got that. It could be
Now-
treated as a disk, but it is not a disk.
Sanford, were you trying to show us something in your browser? Because we're not there.
Oh, you're not seeing what's in
Yeah.
my browser.
You
No.
got the Word
I-
document.
All right,
We're
starting.
sharing the document, not the desktop.
Gotcha. Okay, let's go back to this guy. This is where I'm at. You guys
Yeah,
are seeing
there
this.
There we are.
There
All
you
right,
go.
so where
And
it
if you
says
want
recovery,
to, you can use the immersive reader. If that, no, you're in Firefox. Okay. If you were in Edge, you could use the immersive reader.
right.
Firefox does have a reader mode, but for this, it wouldn't be useful. You'd lose the images.
Toggle reader view.
See?
There you go.
Oh, actually, you don't. You don't lose the important images.
The important images, no, but some of the other images, especially advertising, that's what you want to lose.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so back to this. Where were we in terms of what the disk is? I said that. We discussed that. Recovery drive. Now it tells you what it calls a recovery drive. Information from the Windows process. If you back up system files to this drive, you should also be able to use it to reinstall Windows. That is a recovery drive. So it's a drive that you would back up everything to that would have 100% of what you need to rebuild the system on the other end. It contains, what's it going to contain? Windows repair, Windows diagnostics.
Yes.
You could put on this drive.
It's real helpful if you can't really boot up your computer in trying to make repairs to make it boot up again.
Rescue media could refer to a recovery drive as it is something you use to rescue your unbootable machine. It's created by a backup tool like Macrium Reflect. So the rescue media, is that the USB stick?
Yep.
Flash drive, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it also includes a Windows boot menu in a separate partition in the rescue media.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to boot off of this.
Yep.
Contains a copy of the backup program that's used to create it. It allows you to restore a backup image to your system from a different drive. Can also be used to back up your system even if you can't boot the machine.
Yeah. Now, in the free version with Macrium Reflect, you can only restore the whole image, not individual files or folders.
Correct. You can restore individual partitions. I don't recommend it unless you know what you're doing.
Right.
What was
And
the
Macrium,
name?
Macrium Reflect can also do some Windows boot repair.
Yes.
What was the name of that other software that was it was a paid software? We even had a demonstration. The people came out and demonstrated at the
You mean
West Side meeting years ago.
You mean Acronis True Image Home?
Yes.
Yeah, that's become sort of a catch-all for all kinds of other services they want to sell you.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not recommend it any longer.
And it even the discount CCS gets for Acronis backup software, it's still an annual subscription, basically speaking. And if you got a choice between a free backup tool that does basically the same thing, why do you want to spend the money?
Well, Macrium Reflect is going to be expensive An annual.
And we may
subscription.
find alternatives like EasUs to do backup that's still free too. And
Okay.
it does almost the same thing that Macrium Reflect does.
Okay.
So
However,
what-
if I recall, on both of these two packages, you don't have to continue your subscription. You can get your package that you need and let the subscription run out, but the software is still going to run that you have, correct?
Not
Gen-
necessarily in as a subscription model.
Right. Subscription
Oh, please-
model changes things. It says, I got to have an active license to run the
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
It's different from buying a program like you bought that Fences program.
Fences, right?
And you can run that for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
No
that's a
problem.
perpetual license.
Yeah,
A perpetual license will let you run that version of that program forever.
right. It's
Okay.
different than subscription.
Right.
And now the one thing that you have to weigh, and this varies person to person. If you have a tendency to delete a lot of files or folders by accident, you usually need the paid version of the backup program. If you don't need that feature, the free version, if it exists, will do whole image backups and whole image restores of your system when needed. And that's all I use. I don't bother with the files and folders. Maybe I'm a little too careful. I haven't had the need for that.
Well, I've had things disappear that were folders that I really wanted to restore. But usually it's because I had neglected to back up the data to an external drive for a little while. It can happen.
Oh yeah, but generally speaking, I have never had that kind of need for probably 2 decades.
Two questions.
Go ahead.
Yes.
The recovery drive is specific to an individual PC, correct?
No,
No?
no,
No.
As long as you have the same Windows version, you can use it on anything?
it isn't even go by the version. I can use Macrium Reflect Rescue Media.
No, I'm not talking recovery drive.
Oh, the recovery drive. It's got to be the same version of Windows. Yes.
But not necessarily the same PC.
No.
Okay, then the next question is, as Microsoft continues to upgrade and update and come up with more stuff, is there a period of time when we ought to redo the recovery drive?
Generally, I think of once a year.
Okay,
Whenever they do a feature update,
That's about
which
once
is
a
now
year now.
which is now going to be once a year.
I will add one little asterisk to this. If you were at all thinking about a hidden partition that is your recovery media, this conversation does not apply, because you can't update what's in that hidden recovery partition.
There are some computers that will do that.
Yeah.
However, most won't.
Most won't. Right. So if you went from Windows 8 to Windows 10, that recovery partition is no longer valid because you made a major change.
Well,
Yeah.
most of the manufacturers have gotten away from having the recovery partition to begin with, because within 1 year of having that machine, that recovery partition software is obsolete.
You're right. However, I'm just pointing out to the fact that it does exist on many of our PCs.
Right. And on a lot of my PCs, because it was obsolete, I just delete that partition. But you got to have the right tools and the knowledge of how to do it.
Right, right, which is not our discussion
Right.
here. Just wanted to bring this up.
That's correct.
Okay. Are we good with this topic here?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So I'll stop that one and we'll go to our next one. What else do we have on our list? Do I need to resend out this list so everyone could see this
I'm
again?
looking at the list. I
How
have,
about the number 2? Why is my Wi-Fi speed slow?
Well, yours is slow because you went to a slower one.
actually,
Well, it's even slower.
it's a legitimate question in some cases. In my area, you don't have underground cables like some of the suburbs you guys live in. So I go from the house to a telephone pole. I just recently had severe problems. They had to send out a lineman, and he replaced the whole line because it was damaged by water.
Okay, what's this one? This link brought me to this video, so let's see what this has to say. It's 9 minutes.
Leo.
Can't hear the
You guys
video,
hear this?
audio. Go up to the top, more options, and there's one for broadcasting the audio.
More options.
Right at the very top of your screen where...
I got it.
Okay.
Um,
One of those is for your audio out from the video. I can't remember what it was.
share sound.
Yeah, share sound.
All right, let's see if this works.
Boom here for AskLeo.com. Let's dive
Did you guys get that? Where's
Yep.
this asking?
Yes.
Okay.
right into this common question. I have a strong Wi-Fi signal, but I'm getting only 70 Mbps on my gigabit router. Why? Shouldn't I get closer to a gigabit? Probably not. There are a number of reasons why that might be the case. And perhaps more importantly, the speed of your Wi-Fi might not be as important as you think. First, we have to define some of the acronyms we're using, specifically Mbps and Gbps. Mbps, where the B is a lowercase b, stands for megabits per second, or roughly the ability to transmit 1 million bits of information in 1 second. Gbps, again with a lowercase b, stands for gigabits per second, or the ability to transmit roughly 1 billion bits in 1 second. Now, where the confusion lies is that with an uppercase B, in other words, Mbps with an uppercase B, means megabytes per second, and Gbps with the uppercase B means gigabyte per second. So it's an ability to transmit 1 million bytes per second or 1 billion bytes per second, respectively. But given that a byte is 8 bits, the numbers are easy to confuse. Remember that a 100 megabit per second is the same as a 12.5 megabyte per second. I belabor this point only because it's very easy to get the measurements confused, to compare upper and lower case measurements when you're actually comparing apples and oranges. Make sure that when you are comparing speeds or anything dealing with bits per second or bytes per second, make sure you know what you're dealing with. Make sure, if nothing else, the capitalization of the letter B is the same in what you're comparing. Now, let's talk about Wi-Fi for a minute. Wi-Fi has maximum speeds, depending on the Wi-Fi protocol you happen to be using and the Wi-Fi protocol supported by your wireless access point. Here's a table. 802.11b, one of the oldest standards, can only do 11 megabits per second. 802.11a, 54. 802.11g, 54. 802.11n can do up to 600 megabits per second, and so on. You get the idea. Realize, though, that this is limited by both the capability of the access point and the capability of the device you're using. So, for example, if you have an older laptop that is only capable of 802.11b, you're not going to get any faster than 11 megabits per second. Now, that's a pretty old laptop. It's a pretty old Wi-Fi interface. But more commonly, 802.11g is something we should talk about. But there you'll find that 54 megabits per second is your theoretical maximum. So it doesn't matter how fast your router is, whether it's a 100 megabit router or a 1 gigabit router, your Wi-Fi connection will never exceed this theoretical maximum of the protocol that's being used. You can tell which protocol is being used. I call it out in the article that accompanies this video, but it's in the command shell. You enter a command netsh space WLAN space show space interfaces. And with that information will be something called radio type, and that'll tell you which 802.11 protocol you happen to be using. That way, you'll know exactly what the maximum speed you should expect from your wireless connection is. However, in all of these cases, I keep talking about theoretical maximum speed. In reality, for all of those protocols, the maximum speed is essentially never seen in the wild. We never see a full, say, 54 megabits per second. And that's because it varies depending on the signal quality, the distance, and any obstacles in the way. All of the protocols are designed specifically to fall back to a slower speed rather than disconnect, if at all possible. So if there's interference from other radios, other wireless networks that happen to be on the same frequency and channel, other devices such as microwaves or telephones that may be interfering at the same frequencies, all of these things can interfere with the wireless. The net effect is not necessarily to kick you off, but rather slow down your connection. Things like walls, metal in the walls, can cause interference. And of course, distance is a very important factor when it comes to signal strength. The weaker the signal, the slower the protocol will end up running. The stronger the signal, of course, then the faster it can run. But the bottom line here is that regardless of what your theoretical maximum is for any of these wireless protocols, the reality is always going to be less. Even if it were perfect, it would still be less by a little bit. And that's because built into the protocol, built into the wireless protocol, there's overhead information. So if, for example, you're running at a full 54 megabits per second, which you would never see, then you would also see a slower speed when it comes to your data because there's administrative and overhead information being transmitted as well. Now, that might explain, in fact, that probably explains why your wireless connection is limited to whatever it is, even though you're connected to a 1 gigabit router. Chances are your protocol doesn't support a full gigabit, and there may be other things interfering with the effective speed that you are able to achieve in your specific environment. There's one more thing that trips people up all the time, and I actually am annoyed by ISPs that advertise this fastest Wi-Fi. The fact is, if you're doing something online, there's a really good chance that the speed of your Wi-Fi, the speed of your router, the speed of your equipment has very little to do with the speed of what you're doing. And that's because everything is limited by the speed of your internet connection. If you've got a 100 megabit connection to the internet, then it doesn't matter that your router is capable of a gigabit. It doesn't matter that your Wi-Fi is capable of more than 100 megabits. And that's because whatever you're doing online is choked. It's throttled at the router to the speed that you're paying for from your ISP. Now, it doesn't mean that the gigabit router is pointless. It doesn't mean that your faster Wi-Fi is pointless. It's useful for things that you're doing locally. Like if you're copying something from one machine to another on your local network, not involving the internet, then yeah, that can happen much, much faster. But do be aware when you're measuring speed that it's more often than not the speed of the internet that's actually manifesting as what you might consider to be slow. Now, there are two other things that I do need to talk about. They're less common, but they are important, and that is simply this. Your computer could be old. Not necessarily saying that you've got an 802.11b connection that's limited, but the computer itself could simply be old. The processor could be slow. You could be limited to RAM. You could be just faced with hardware that is unable to keep up with today's advanced speeds. It was built in a time where 11 megabits was awesome. And once upon a time, it was. Now, not so much. Your machine could be part of the problem. The other thing is that, especially if your machine is older, or especially if your machine isn't quite as capable as more modern machines, more current machines, you could be trying to do too much. It's very possible that all of the software you have running simultaneously on your PC could cause it not to be able to respond to any networking, be it wired or wireless, as quickly as you might want it to. So that's something else to pay attention to. If you've got an older machine or what you consider to be a slower machine, realize that that slowness may also impact its ability to communicate on the network. Hope that's helpful. For updates, for comments, for related links and more, visit askleo.com/.
Okay. That was good.
That's where you have to start looking at what programs start up when you boot up the computer, because most of them can be turned off or disabled so that they are not running when you're trying to use the computer. The next thing is, how many things are you trying to do at the same time? That can cause a problem.
Anyone else want to elaborate on this? What they've done to speed up their internet? Wayne, come on, you're a professional at this. You just went through all this.
Well, you know, I told you that I've got around 24 different devices hooked up to my my router.
Okay, so do I. So what?
Well, that's what the tech told me I had too many things hooked up.
And I would
I
tell
think
him to go pound salt.
I know, I agree. But it's very interesting. When I run the speed tests different times of the day, I get different speeds. And I
That's
think that's
normal.
probably because where I'm at on the line, it's not just me, but other people that are probably on the line in my neighborhood that are having an effect on it too.
That's probably that is the biggest factor that affects what you're doing. You're on Comcast,
Yeah.
right? Comcast
Yep.
is it's probably copper running somewhere in the system. They may hook it up to fiber at some point and run fiber throughout, because that's what they're doing these days. But still, everybody else in your neighborhood is connected to that hub, and they're getting all their data from that hub that's running copper, and that slows down what's going through that pipeline, because that pipeline has got to send everybody else's data down that thing along with yours.
And,
so you're just getting congestion. It's like being on the Eisenhower.
It's like the old party lines on your telephone, where you shared your telephone connection with 2 or 3 other neighbors. If they're occupying the line at the time, guess what? You sit there and wait until they get off before you can make your call.
Pete loved that party line. That's a soft spot. Yeah.
Well, it's worse than that. The cable distribution network was designed for downstream. It was never designed for two-way communication.
Right.
And the result is their particular way of doing hub and branch works very well for getting things from their central location and distributing it outward. It works very poorly for getting anything back the other direction.
Right, which is what we're doing nowadays. This being an example of it.
That's
Zoom right here.
Mhm.
We are every one of us is receiving packets of video packets sent to us to our screen, but we have a camera and audio, and we are sending stuff back out. And I'm pointing to you guys. I'm pointing.
Yeah,
that's right.
But that is literally what's going on. So we're sending out a lot of data outbound, and that is slowing down their system because they're not designed for it. Now on a fiber optic system that is running a gigabit fiber to your house, those have unilateral download and upload speeds. You will not notice that. So Wayne, you need to find a different provider.
what I want to say about fiber optic, it arose out of the telephone network. And the telephone network was designed from the beginning for point-to-point communication, using the central switching stations only as nodes on the network. That is much more efficient on the upstream.
So the fiber that I have is coming into the complex. The complex has 155 households.
Okay.
So I know that. And the fiber is sourced by the undersea fiber, which is disrupted by the U.S. military whenever they're doing operations. And that's a known fact.
Tell them to stop it. You're trying to get some work done.
No, and then we also have the whole Pacific supercomputer on the fiber that's coming to the island.
But
Wow.
the island is also a jump way to what's going on. Isn't there cable running from you to Japan or to
Oh
Eurasia?
yeah, I think that's the one that goes to Oahu is dumping there.
Okay. So part of that goes from the mainland through Hawaii to Asia.
Guam to Midway to Japan to the Philippines.
Right.
Surprised I didn't see you.
So we're sharing the main fiber hub from the mainland with all of the Pacific.
Yeah, but you should be having a tremendous, gigantic pipeline running to your house.
Oh yeah,
I mean, to the island there. I mean, it's
to the island, yes.
Gigantic thing.
So the pipeline the pipeline to Maui has got not petabits. It's 3 levels beyond peta on the high side. So it's not giga, not meta, it's not peta, not the 12. It's like the 10 to the 32 bits per second.
Wow. So, Pete, it's a lot.
It's a ton of lot.
Yeah, but civilians don't have access to all that.
No, you don't. You only get a.
So
you
we
only
got
get
the
one
single
strand.
fiber, fiber coming down the street from there to 152 households.
Well, that's okay. They got room for 100 more. At least 256.
254.
54.
Bob, you're always spot on.
Thank you, Bob. That came up in another meeting about how many connections.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Two are reserved for the system.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've covered this. Does everyone know what
We
effect
beat this
are?
dead horse?
Sorry?
We beat this dead horse?
I think so. Shall we continue on to our next topic? Yes. Someone pull something out of our
Hat.
topic list, please.
Oh, by the way, I posted a link to an article by Intel that's about all the different maximum speeds of all the different protocols. And there's dozens of them.
Yeah, and our USBs getting hairy. In More FY 2571, I got an article about that, and holy mackerel, it's looking like a nightmare.
Okay.
What's that last, Sanford, what's that last item on the list that has Bill's name on it about free movies on the web?
Ah, okay. Bill, you had provided this little thing here.
Yep, I did.
You want to discuss this?
Well, I don't remember where I found it, but supposedly it's all a variety of free TV, movies, and so on and so forth websites.
Destinations you can get free movies from.
Yep,
Okay, so we all know Pluto TV
yeah,
has movies running, although they're not necessarily on demand. But you can, I found on Pluto TV, you can sometimes pull up a show and tell it that you want to watch it from the beginning, and it will rebroadcast it from the beginning for you.
yeah.
So I found that.
Pluto also does have an on-demand service
Okay.
because I keep getting offered by Comcast to view some of the shows that are going away from Comcast. Can still view them on Pluto TV streaming. What you got there,
86
Pete?
degrees.
86.2 degrees.
Oh.
And don't complain about your
Uh,
internet.
The only question I got about the free TV, I use quite a few of those sources myself on a Roku. It's a case of needing some kind of a guide as to what is available when it's a running series like TV does, or what's available on demand. Because if you try and do it while you're using the device to find a movie or a TV show you want to watch, you could spend a whole week just to find one thing that you want to watch.
You know, the thing is, when Comcast refers me, they're referring from their episode list.
Okay.
So it's never an issue. I can also, I think Pluto TV has an app, and it is searchable. I haven't used it, so I can't tell you for sure exactly what you can do.
Has anyone used any of these other providers here?
Yeah.
Like who?
I use the Amazon freebie. I have, though it's been a while, done Popcorn Flicks. I use Plex once in a while, Pluto TV. It's been a long time since I did Crackle. I do watch Tubi, YouTube, Roku channel, but the last two I've never used.
Peacock is easy.
Yeah, Peacock, the good stuff isn't free.
Right.
Unless you're a
Yeah.
Comcast subscriber.
That's correct.
And it's also mostly NBC Universal stuff. And the CW network has another one, which I do use. That's just an app for streaming theirs. That's free. And PBS, if you subscribe at a certain level, you can get the passport. And they also have stuff free for everybody.
Has anybody ever used Xfinity Stream?
Yes.
All the time.
I've used it, but
All
I
the
don't
time.
particularly care for it because I use Linux a lot, and they don't.
In the summer, I sit out on my patio and use Xfinity Stream.
But isn't that's only available if you have Xfinity Comcast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
All right, so that's not a free product.
Well, it is a free app.
It's
That's
a free app that you're tying into your account.
Correct.
Yeah, you have to use your account.
Right.
But
Right.
you can eliminate the Xfinity boxes that you have by using that.
Yeah.
I would be careful
that's what
about
they-
that. I would be careful about doing that because of limited content and content where some episodes start disappearing before others in the same
Let me
series.
say a couple things about that. Because Sanford didn't ask about new stuff. So I got a smart TV to replace a smaller TV. And I put the Xfinity app on that. And it works just fine, except you can't pause. But
Yeah.
Huh? What'd you say, Wayne?
That's what I understand.
Yeah, you can't pause it. And since I'm now using I'm not using a Comcast remote, I can't record either. So I have to set up recording on one that I am using Comcast remote, and then you can watch it on Xfinity, I think, mobile.
Are you also
that's
are you still getting 4K content through that app?
I don't know, I think so. Doesn't matter to me. My eyes aren't that good anyway.
Well, I'm just asking in case, in the case where people are paying for 4K, they're expecting 4K, and are you going to get it through this app or not? I ask that because I'm wondering, which I don't have this app, so I don't know. I'm wondering, are they playing with your resolution at all with the app, or are they delivering it whatever you're paying for?
I can't see the difference, Sanford. The TV I bought is a a 1080 TV,
Okay, so it's not a 4K TV.
so it's not a 4K TV.
All right.
Now, that's the first thing. Then the second thing is, I had a smart TV down in the basement, but Comcast told me that that smart TV was so old that you couldn't put Xfinity Mobile on it. So I bought a FireStick, and I got the FireStick working, and so now that's okay. And of course, the two of them work differently. The FireStick is a little harder to use, but I learned by using voice that I could say voice when I first turn it on. I say Xfinity, and it takes me to the stream, and then I can look at the stations. I only view a couple of stations down in the basement anyway, so it works just fine. And so I took 2 boxes back, and now I'm saving $20 plus taxes a month.
There you go.
Do you get all the stations that you get all the stations that you were getting with your box?
Yeah, you do, Wayne, but it's a little tricky because on the FireStick, when you first go into it, if you don't click on the all channels, it takes you to a pre-selection of channels, which doesn't include some of the channels I want to watch. So you have to make sure you go to all channels when you're going into Xfinity Mobile. That's the only thing.
So the FireStick,
all the
the
channels
Fire-
are there.
yeah. The FireStick has Xfinity Mobile on it then?
No, you install it.
That's what I mean. You have to install it on there.
Yes.
And I've got Roku. I found a Roku box that I bought at Fry in 2012, and I got it to working.
Oh, great.
But I'm wondering, can I put that Xfinity stream on that Roku thing?
I don't
Can't
think
answer
so.
that. I would think so, but I don't know.
I don't
Give it
believe
a-
so. I have a Roku 2. That's ancient. And you can only put on the Roku what Roku lets you put on. It's not designed to side load other applications like the Xfinity Stream app.
Okay.
I went with the Fire Stick because I went online and it rated the Fire Stick better than the Roku, which is why
Okay.
it was $40.
I went the opposite years ago, and I've still got it. I got a Fire Stick, and I liked the Roku better when I got a hold of it. And this was an old, refurbished Roku, and I've been running it. And Roku has been wanting me to upgrade for several years to a newer device.
Well, I just got the latest one. It's a 4K that you can actually talk on the device. I got it for the same price as the other one.
I
It
don't do
was
anything
on
in
sale.
4K, so I don't care.
No, I
Almost
know.
all my devices is 1K,
Right.
1080p.
So that's my story, and in the process, Wayne was talking about this the other day. They ran a new line on the ground from the box to the house. They replaced my modem because I couldn't get internet at all.
Wow.
And then they also replaced my DVR because that was acting up. So I got a whole new system.
Jeez.
Wow. And then you took 2 boxes back.
Now I took 2 boxes back.
Are
Man,
Good
you
man.
using
Cut off their
Are you-
toes.
are you using their modem or your own modem?
I use their modem only because that way, if I have any problems in the house, I just call them and they come.
well, one thing that Sanford brought up at Westside meeting was the fact that if you got the optic cable to the house, there's only 2 sources for modem routers, and you got to
Yeah.
rent them. You can't buy them.
I don't know
Yeah.
if I don't know if it's fiber or copper.
It's copper, like what we've got here. We don't have fiber in our neighborhood.
Well, I know Metrocom does, but I don't know if Comcast does.
Metronet?
Metronet, yeah. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about is this little duty here. This is a case for a small
Laptop SATA drive.
Can you put that up closer to the camera so we can see that?
Yeah, I'm
Ah,
trying.
Yeah.
This is just a SATA drive out of a
SSD.
laptop that I took out, and that goes inside this little
Right.
case, which is really cool. And then it connects here, and you stick it in here like that, and then it's got a USB port, and you just plug it in, and it works great. Now this is the fourth one of these I got, because I bought this one first, which is a plastic case. This one has an on-off switch. The new
Oh,
one does not.
that's neat. I've never
And
seen
then I
one
also
with a
bought,
off on.
after that, I bought this one, which is a clear plastic case, which is nicer because you can see what drive it is.
Yeah,
But
that's new.
I I didn't see these on the website when I bought these last two. I had a choice of aluminum or plastic, and they talked about aluminum being a heat sink to take heat away, so I bought the aluminums. So
Yeah,
there you have.
the
And
only
the
thing
last
Where did
thing,
you get these?
say,
Where?
where'd I get them?
Yes,
They're at
like Amazon or Newegg or,
well, I got them through Amazon. The name of the company is Sabrent, Sabrent.
that
correct.
company's been around a long time.
Yeah,
I've got several of their enclosures.
right.
Now,
They work great.
Now the
one
only
question. One question. Have you tried to perform a trim operation on the external drives that are in those enclosures?
Don't know how to do that.
Windows just does trim. All you do is optimize. And if it recognizes it as an SSD, not a removable, it will go ahead and perform the trim function, which
Yeah.
is garbage collection on an SSD.
Well, I got plenty of room, so I haven't messed with them.
There are performance issues you get into if too much garbage collects on an SSD.
an SSD holds on to files temporarily, and the trim releases that space for reuse. It's one of the
Never
tricks.
use trim.
Yeah, so you just go to the drive's properties, and you know how you have the tools, and one of the tools is optimizing the drive.
Right.
And you just
And
optimize.
that would be where you would do that step, and you'll notice it's either going to say, when it goes to do it, it'll say trimming, or it'll say
Defragging.
optimizing.
Yeah, the display will either show that it is an SSD or that it thinks it's a removable drive.
Right.
A removable drive, it will not trim.
Okay. And the last thing I bought was a new rug for the front door.
So does that improve your PC performance?
No, but my wife doesn't complain about dirt in the wall on the floors.
Oh. Well,
Okay,
Anyway.
Bill. I
if-
guess this rug would have like a computer on it. You know, is it a picture or
Yeah,
what?
I always like to leave them laughing.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll
yeah, that
tell
it
you.
would somehow.
I'll
it
tell
should-
you one thing that's real cute. Bob should have it capable, but it depends on the age of your machine. I've got some that go back to 8th generation CPU, and normally I would use a USB 2 or a USB 3 3.1 Gen 1 port to do my backups on, say with Macrium Reflect. And on a recent machine, I have a USB 2, well, it's called a USB 3.2 Gen 2 at 10 megabits per second, or twice the speed of USB 3. And it makes even old drives that are not designed for that speed go way faster. And on an SSD versus a spinning hard drive, it ought to go like lightning. But that article I published about USB, there are plans in the work where USB could eventually go to USB 4 level, and that could hit a high of 80 megabits per second transfer.
Yeah, but trying to cool a machine like that would be a nightmare.
Oh, and how? Actually, it starts getting to the point where you got to have water cool capability on external devices.
Well, pretty soon we'll all have to have our own liquid nitrogen tanks.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, if we're going to do things about new stuff, do we have time? I could do a brief rundown on a new monitor that I got.
Go ahead.
So I decided that my Intel NUC deserved better than a 10-inch monitor.
Oh,
So I got
Absolutely.
I got a 24-inch class monitor, 23.5, and it's an Acer FreeSync monitor.
Ooh,
Now, the
those are good.
problem that I ran into is FreeSync is an AMD graphics card syncing mechanism. Two problems arose. One, the monitor would not recognize HDMI output through normal HDMI cables, even though it was only HDMI 1.4, and my cables are certified through 2 something. It needed the cable that came with the monitor. Apparently, there's such a thing as a FreeSync cable. The second thing is my computers are Intel, and they do not have the AMD graphics.
right.
So trying to get the monitor to even display the graphics at all was a nightmare from hell. I had to figure out, sometimes with the graphics cutting out very swiftly, which settings in the monitor to change from the monitor controls. And I had sometimes less than 3 seconds to make a change before
Yeah.
things would cut out.
There's a different sync for Intel base, NVIDIA type of monitors. And if you don't get the right sync version,
Right.
you have hell.
Yeah, and mine's not NVIDIA either. Mine's
Yeah.
Intel Iris.
Right.
And that is the most difficult one to get synced up with this particular monitor. But I finally got it, and the settings do remain stable now. And if anybody wants to know anything about the specs of the monitor and what it's capable of, I have something I could put in chat, or we could discuss.
Is it a TN monitor or an IPS monitor?
The actual screen is, just a minute, video, technical information. I don't see what it says about that.
The
Sounds
easiest
box.
way to test that is look side to side on the monitor. If you
It has a
compare-
180. It has a nearly 180 degree.
Okay, that's
viewing angle.
IPS. That's wide vision. TN is single user vision.
Yeah, this one has wide angle. Wide angle. Somewhere I've got in my Linux notes on the subject, I've got the full specs, and it does say what it has. And I made some notes as to what all these various things mean and how it makes for a better picture.
What made you pick that particular, make and model of monitor?
At the Micro Center, it was $69.
Right.
And it's
Good
a fairly
reason.
up-to-date monitor. And they advertised another one that probably wouldn't have been quite as good, also for $69, but I don't think they had that one in stock. So this one, which normally would be about 130, they had marked down to 79. And I'll bet one of the reasons is people could not figure out FreeSync.
Yeah. Now, so the funny
So-
thing there is I've got a few machines that are AMD based, and that would work perfectly right off the bat. Whereas the majority of my machines are Intel based, you got to have the other sync type monitor to have an easy time.
Yeah.
Does it say anywhere on the box that is specifically designed for AMD chips?
It says
GPUs?
FreeSync. It says FreeSync.
And that's an AMD
And when
product.
it says FreeSync, that's the tip off.
No,
Yeah.
but it might be the tip off, but does it say on the box? Designed for AMD GPUs,
They don't say designed for or not designed for.
Yeah.
but it is.
Yeah, nowhere in
technically,
their documentation do they make any claims one way or the other.
there's been a
If I'm looking
battle.
at the web, it says FreeSync technology is specific to AMD graphic cards
Right.
and
It
will
is.
not work with NVIDIA video cards.
Right, and the NVIDIA has a different sync, and it won't work with the AMD cards.
Right.
right.
And then Intel onboard Iris graphics is yet another thing.
Yeah.
So, Bob, did you know this when you were at the store? Did anyone
No.
point this out to you?
Nope.
No, they
now-
do not, and I did not know.
And you did not know. And then, see, now that, I don't know what kind of conversation you had with anybody that worked at Micro Center, but usually they're fairly good at things like that.
If I had had a full discussion with them and said what my computer was running, they probably would have steered me towards something more expensive.
Okay, well, anything more than the 90 some odd bucks is going to be more expensive.
Anything more than $69 will be
Or,
more expensive.
whatever it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, was 69 bucks
Yeah.
for a
69
24-inch monitor?
for a
They're
24-inch
refurbs.
class.
They're
What?
refurbs.
This is not refurb.
Oh, it isn't?
It was new in the box.
Wow. Most of
Wow.
the time it's refurb. From
New in the box,
businesses.
and they had 19 of them in the store.
Wow.
They just simply marked them down on sale. And like I say, I think I know why.
Most of them.
Because it was a real bear to set it up, and the controls are kind of difficult to operate on this monitor.
So all the things you had to change, Bob, to make it work.
Yeah.
Were they changes within the monitor or within the operating system or Windows?
I couldn't even get into the operating system. And by the way, my NUC boots Linux first by default, which means if I can't see the graphics, I end up in Linux.
Mm-hmm.
And it uses the Linux boot manager, Grub. So all of those things also work against having this work. If it had been Windows first in my EFI, if I had set it up that way, it would have worked because Windows automatically compensates for these things.
Did Linux run? Were you able to see Linux on that screen?
Like I say, it would show the greeter screen where you log in, and 3 seconds later, I'd have no image.
Nothing.
Wow.
Okay.
And I finally got it out of that. And once I got it out of that, it was a little smoother sailing. Then it was
let's
just,
say, Bob,
yeah,
you bought a $70 monitor and you spent $500 in labor to get it to work.
I probably spent a whole evening. And my time isn't really worth all that much money, but
All right, $250.
yeah. The thing is, I'm willing to spend time. I'm a Linux person. I'm willing to spend time when I have an issue and try to get an understanding of what happened.
Mhm.
So I'm not just fixing an issue. I'm also getting an education.
That's right.
And the same thing happened when I had to take apart my NUC and try to slide a USB 3 cable header cable into the little tiny space and get it to go to the header. That also was an educational experience.
Yes,
Get
it
yourself
is.
a pair of
Anytime you're
medical
doing any
forceps.
hacking to a machine.
Get yourself a pair of medical forceps. They're great at gripping and going down into small areas.
Yeah, what I have is not quite medical grade, but it's a really nice set of tweezers, and it worked. But the thing is, it was such a tight fit, and if I had pulled on the connector the wrong way, I would have detached some wires.
Wow.
You're talking about mini computers. I just happened to glance at some mini computers online, and you can get 16 gig of RAM, mega RAM, 500 gig hard drive for $240.
But
Yeah.
what
They're pretty cheap.
What's the processor?
I don't know that, Tim. I
Okay.
was browsing through and they had a whole ribbon of them.
Oh, they're Core i9s.
Core i9s?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. Core i9.
I think
he would be smoking on it.
I think they were just dual processors.
Right. They're nothing. You're not going to get anything great out of them.
No,
You might get a
I know, but
Celeron
just
or a Centrino on these low end machines at
Yeah.
the best, but it's going to be more than that $200 mark. You might get a Core i3, but those are closer to $400 for
You
those.
got to go $400 or better to get a decent machine that you're going to be reasonably happy with. Anything less, and you're buying on price only, and you're not going to be happy probably with whatever you bought, except
Down
a
the line.
Chromebook.
It will work for now. It depends what you're doing with it.
That's correct.
Totally depends. If you're just surfing the web, basic unit you do. But
Bob would buy it to get an education how to make it work.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. If it has anything to do with the processor or anything that's fundamental to the board, the circuit board, I'm not touching it because trying to upgrade that kind of stuff is never a happy experience.
right. And also, and Bob he doesn't chintz on the processor per se.
I didn't.
No, you didn't. And on his Nooks, he didn't chintz on them. He goes with what is his budget friendly, but it's not going down to the Centrino or the Pentiums or the Celeron bases. He knows better than that. So we've got a few more minutes. Anybody else have any last show and tells they'd like to present to the audience?
And there's a program I use pretty regularly. It's called FireShot. It takes on your monitor, on your screen, it would convert it to a PDF, FireShot. Like some of the articles presented tonight, right? There were some that I did look, and then some that said, hey, I don't have time to read it, so I'll simply copy it to a PDF, and then I'll read it at my leisure.
Okay.
And I said I use it often for a whole bunch of different programs and shots. It's called FireShot. And basically, you got a program on your monitor. It'll be a bunch of pages with different screens. You can highlight whatever you want to convert to a PDF.
That's pretty cool.
Save it.
Can you spell that?
FireShot, FireShot.
Okay.
Just like it sounds.
Yeah, and it's I used it frequently.
Well,
I use GreenShot all the time. Is a GreenShot? Hang on a minute.
I have a piece of
GreenShot. The only thing about that is it stores it as a JPEG.
Okay,
So
it's a PDF.
Okay, and FireShot makes it a PDF.
yeah.
Right. And then I also use other programs that converts PDF into just about anything else, Word, JPG, whatever, a whole bunch of other programs and vice versa. And I use those as well.
What program is that?
Gee whiz, there's two of them. It's a PDF converter, generally PDF converter. PDF into a whole bunch of stuff or a whole bunch of stuff into PDF. OCR they use, so then that's what I use. I got about 50 programs I use.
Anybody here use GIMP?
No.
I have
Yeah,
it
I
on the
have.
computer, but I haven't used it much.
Yeah.
I have used it a little.
Okay.
I sent Sanford a list of all my favorite utilities. Did you get
I-
that?
I deny it.
Huh?
I deny it that you sent it to me. It was stolen. I don't know.
A hacker
It
came
got
in
lost
just to
in the
steal that
ether?
one list.
It got lost in the sea going, I don't know what, I don't know. I don't recall seeing it, Bill.
Okay, well, I put it together for my grandson because he had to buy a new computer.
Ah, that's right. You did
Had
that.
water on it, and I haven't gotten that one yet to look at it. But so I sent Sanford a list of all the utilities I use because I just listed them down for him.
I think you should just boot up that machine and see what happens.
I
At
Well,
this
I'm gonna try, but I think they've tried that and it didn't boot at all.
It didn't boot it off. Okay, so, I don't know how industrious you are. You could always, you said it was on a laptop, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, no, forget it. But I was going to tell you to open it up and take a look inside, and you can look and see for any corrosion or anything. The battery is probably the power supply, or something's coming from the battery is probably the key thing. Something corroded with that or affected that. And sometimes it could be as simple as just scraping away some water that, not water, but the calcium buildup
Calcium
from,
buildup, yeah.
right. Sometimes that's all you need to do. So,
I have
any
a,
other last things?
I have a program that I've been using lately that some of you might want. It does a lot of cleanup stuff, and any free space on your drive, it's for Windows. It will erase the stuff so it's unrecoverable should you get hacked or something like that. I can share my screen on it. And I will bring up apps and go P.
Oh, yeah, you talked about that.
This is a privatizer, and I did bring it up at Westside, but I thought I'd bring it up tonight because we have a few different people. And it's a good little program. Once you go through the setup phase, it will clean up a lot of crap on your system. And the last thing it does is it takes your free space, does a wipe on just the free space so that there's nothing recoverable there. And it cleans out a lot of garbage. I'm not saying it's perfect by any means, but it's an excellent program, and you can get it on Softpedia, Major Geeks, and several other download sites. And it's so far a free program. It asks for donations, but it gives you almost all the functionality without even a donation.
Yeah, question.
Yep.
How do you wipe free space on an SSD?
It goes through and it rewrites zeros and ones. That's the wiping.
Yeah, that doesn't work on SSDs.
Well, it's on my SSD, and it seems to go through and actually do it.
Yeah, it'll do that, but it won't do anything because SSDs have wear leveling. And every time you write to them, you're writing to a different spot. You never overwrite the same data.
Well, it goes through all the empty space where you don't have programs.
Yeah, but on an SSD, every time you write to that empty space, you're writing to different places. There is a way to make an entire SSD completely clean, and that is a whole drive trim operation, which just sends a signal across the whole SSD and wipes every cell. But that's the only way that I know of that you can actually get all the data off of them.
Okay, anything else? Yes, Bert.
I have a new toy that I got. I guess the best way to show it is it's an easel for your phone with a magnifier that comes up so that it makes it 9 inches to see. So for instance, tonight when we were going through the document, the text was real easy to see, except this is not talking. But anyway, the bottom line is it's real easy to see the text because it blows it up to about 9 inches.
You want to put the link, you got this on Amazon?
No, I got this in one of those emails that were gadgets. And it's a company called MAGNI XTD. And they have a whole bunch of junk that they sell. But this turned out to be a handy thing. They try and upsell you to 47 other things along the way, but I didn't buy anything but this. But what this thing cost me $40 plus shipping, so it wasn't cheap. But it all folds in together to be flat, and it's so you got an easel for the phone and a magnifier for the phone, and it's if you want to, watch a movie or something like that, or a video or a podcast, it blows it all up.
There you go.
What's it called?
What's it called? I've got the instruction guide here, but what do they really call it?
Or you could put a link to it in the show notes.
I have no idea where to find it again.
How much does it blow it up?
Other than the name Magna XTD.
How much does it blow it up, Bert?
It's a 9-inch screen, so it basically you're looking at the phone on 8 or 9 inch screen size. Let's see here. What does it say? It's just called a 1X Magnet XTD screen magnifier. That's what's on the bill.
You use it like a magnifying glass. You have to move it back and forth to get the right.
No, you set it up on this easel. So you have the easel, you put the phone on the easel, you pull out the magnifier, which flips up,
Let's see.
and that's all there is to it.
One position for the magnifier.
Right. Well, there's a couple little feet that you can raise at the bottom to change the angle a little bit. But other than that, you could raise it up or down, whatever you want. But you have to only look at it from directly in front of it, the way the magnifier works. But it was extremely clear.
Nice. Thanks.
So, normally when you go through these garbage sites that have tons of junk for the holidays to go buy stuff, I mean, I must have gone through 50 different things, but this was the only one that looked interesting to me.
Bill, you were showing us something?
I was showing you, this is the list.
The list that he sent you.
Okay, with that being said, I'd like to conclude this meeting. Anybody else have any last minute announcements? No, I'm going to stop the recording.
Recording stopped.
And I'd like to thank everybody for attending the January edition of the Tips and Tricks SIG. And like to remind everybody, there is a meeting next week. What is it, South Suburban?
Yeah, South Suburban, and then North West Computer Club.
Will be on the following Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Final question for Bill. Bill, what color was that rug you bought your wife?
Indoor or outdoor?
Well, it was multicolored and it had some green.
Did you get it at Costco?